So, as the alleged shooter awaits his first court appearance tomorrow, joining us now to discuss the case and how it might shape up, we have David Bruno, a criminal defense attorney and trial attorney, and Eric Guster, a defense attorney. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Eric, is this domestic terrorism?
It definitely appears that it is. This has all of the elements for a domestic terrorist act. This man went in with the intent to cause harm based upon his views, which is clearly terrorism. You have a man who said he was talking about baby parts, he was anti-abortion, and he went into a clinic and wreaked havoc on this, which reminds me very much of Robert Rudolph that he struck in Alabama a few years ago in my hometown of Birmingham. So this needs to be investigated as a domestic terrorism incident, and we have to make sure that we stamp out these people doing this type of thing.
All right, well, the culprit here obviously is Robert Deere, but we've heard people criticize the critics of Planned Parenthood as somehow inciting this. But even the most vocal critics of Planned Parenthood are condemning this attack. They do not condone violence against abortion providers. But David Bruno, they do have a right to their political views, and many of them object to taxpayer dollars being spent on Planned Parenthood. Carly Fiorina on Fox News earlier today said that some Democrats are using this tragedy to shut down debate on the abortion issue. Do you believe that?
Well, I think it's just as unfortunate that this is becoming a political issue. The fact is, this is a heinous crime, and it should be prosecuted. And just following up on the domestic terrorism issue, what really the legal significance of this being coined domestic terrorism is it gives the federal government the ability to give resources to the investigation. Domestic terrorism can be prosecuted by the federal government, but I don't see that happening. Colorado is a state that has the death penalty. We just recently saw that in the movie Massacre trial.
Right.
They have the capability of proving a murder case and then going to a penalty phase for a death penalty case. So because we're using the word domestic terrorism right now, I think it's most important just to get the funding and the federal government involved in the investigation.
Yeah. So, Eric, what complicates the domestic terrorism, I guess, is the fact that analysts are already saying that the defense here is going to go for an insanity plea. I mean, the guy was clearly unstable. He urged his neighbor to put a metal roof on his house so the government couldn't spy on him. He was living as a recluse. Is an insanity plea going to undercut a charge of terrorism?
An insanity plea can protect almost anyone. And in this case, he doesn't have a choice. As a defense attorney, our job is to protect our client regardless of the heinous act that that person did. And so as an attorney, you have to figure out, number one, is something wrong with him mentally? Will that mental instability actually defend him and prevent him from being criminally charged and going forward with being found guilty? So they're going to have to do every single thing they can to prevent this case from going forward.
Yeah. David, you know, they're going to be looking for evidence. Obviously, they're combing through his various cabins and RVs and trailers and whatnot. What are they looking for to bolster a case that this was premeditated and he was acting with a political agenda, which would be the definition of terrorism as opposed to just a crazy murder?
Sure. They're going to be looking through the computer, the phone, notes, literature, books, things of that nature. And like you said, what we can anticipate is a likely insanity defense. He was there. He was found in the act of shooting. Therefore, it probably will boil down to the mental defense. And those are the things that a prosecutor wants to show. Purposeful, goal-objected behavior, as opposed to somebody not understanding right from wrong.
Yeah. As David mentioned, Eric, death penalty is in effect in Colorado, but James Holmes, the movie theater shooter, he was up for the death penalty, but instead he got life. What do you see happening here? Will they be seeking the death penalty, and what do you see? It's early, but...
I would imagine that they would, because based upon a police officer has been killed, you have several citizens as well who've been injured and killed. So they have to seek the death penalty on this person to try to prevent other things like this from happening. Because when we have homegrown terrorists who go out and terrorize people based upon their political views, we have to make sure that we send a message that this will not be tolerated no matter where you are and what your beliefs are. You can protest all day, but don't go trying to kill people. And actually, he succeeded in killing people, and we have to send a message that this will not be tolerated.
Yeah. What about the fact fact, David, that Eric said that a cop was involved. They're going to be looking for aggravating factors. Is that one of them? And what else do you see there?
Yeah, sure. They're going to be looking for aggravating factors because that's how you get to the death penalty stage. The heinous act of it, the preparation, those are two other aggravating factors that can lead to the death penalty. This is very early, and certainly the prosecutor and the prosecutor's office is going to overturn everything to build that case and see if a death penalty is applicable.
All right, we will see what happens. It is early, and we should note that still the investigators are not saying definitively that even was his motive, but there is some mounting evidence now in the comments that he made to investigators and in handing out anti-Obama brochures beforehand and other things that are leading in that direction. But it's still early. We're going to have to leave it there. David, Bruno, Eric Guster, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Patty.